I'm going to say something in the next 30 seconds that most people in your life would never say to you. Stay until the end, because the second half of this video is going to matter more than the first. If you were the other woman, if you loved someone who wasn't free to love you back, if you found out later, or you knew the whole time and told yourself it would be different, I'm not here to tell you what you already know. You've heard it. You've said it to yourself in the shower at 2 a.m. more times than anyone else ever will. I'm not here to add to that voice. I'm here to interrupt it. Because here's what that voice never tells you. It tells you you're the villain in someone else's story. It doesn't tell you that you're also a person who was lonely, or lied to, or convinced by someone who was very good at convincing. It doesn't tell you that wanting to be chosen isn't a character flaw. It's one of the most human things there is. It just got pointed at someone who was never allowed to choose you back. You've probably replayed the moment you found out he wasn't going to leave, or the moment you realized she was never leaving him. Maybe there wasn't a dramatic moment at all, just a slow understanding that you were the version of love that happens in secret. And secret love always has an expiration date built into it, even when nobody says it out loud. I want to tell you something, and I need you to actually let it land instead of arguing with it. God isn't disgusted by what happened. He's not surprised by it either. Nothing about your story caught him off guard. Not the first conversation, not the last one, not the nights you told yourself this would be the last time and it wasn't. He saw the whole thing before it started, and he's still here. That's not permission. That's not him saying it was fine. That's him saying you are not too far gone to be spoken to. Here's the part people skip, though, because it's uncomfortable in a different direction. Conviction and shame are not the same thing, and confusing them will keep you stuck. Shame says you are the mistake. Conviction says you made a mistake and there's a door out of it. Shame wants you quiet, isolated, scrolling this at midnight, feeling like you can never tell anyone. Conviction wants you moving toward honesty, toward ending what needs to end, toward a version of your life you're not hiding from people. Think about how long shame has been making promises to you. It keeps telling you that if you feel bad enough, eventually you'll earn the right to move on. But has that ever happened? Has replaying every conversation in your mind changed what already happened? Has punishing yourself every morning made yesterday disappear? It hasn't. Shame is a prison that convinces you you're serving a sentence that God never asked you to serve. It keeps you looking backward, while God keeps inviting you to look forward. Not because the past doesn't matter, it does, but because the future still does too. One of the enemy's greatest lies is convincing people that once they've crossed a certain line, they're disqualified forever, that they're no longer the kind of person God speaks to, uses, forgives, or restores. But Scripture tells a different story. Again and again, God meets people in the middle of their failures, not after they've cleaned themselves up. That doesn't erase consequences. It doesn't undo broken trust or broken relationships. Grace doesn't pretend those things never happened. Grace simply refuses to let your worst decision become your permanent identity. So ask yourself the real question, not the one shame is asking. Shame is asking, how do I stop feeling disgusting? That question has no answer, because shame isn't designed to be resolved. It's designed to be endless. Conviction is asking something completely different. It's asking, what is the next honest thing I need to do? That question always has an answer. Sometimes the answer is ending the relationship today. Sometimes it's finally telling one safe person the truth instead of carrying it alone. Sometimes it's deleting the messages you've kept rereading because they make you feel wanted, even though they keep you trapped. Sometimes it's refusing to answer his next text. Sometimes it's accepting that closure isn't always another conversation. Sometimes closure is the decision to stop reopening a door that God has been asking you to close. None of those steps feel easy. In fact, they may feel impossible. But healing rarely begins with easy decisions. It begins with honest ones. Maybe you've been telling yourself, it's too late. I've already ruined everything. But if that were true, then redemption wouldn't exist. The God who restores broken people has never depended on someone having a perfect past. He has always worked with surrendered hearts. That doesn't mean pretending you did nothing wrong. It means bringing the truth into the light instead of trying to survive in the dark. You don't have to become worthy of forgiveness before asking for it. That's not how grace works. And maybe that's the hardest thing to believe. Because if you've carried guilt for months or years, receiving mercy can actually feel harder than carrying shame. Shame feels familiar. Mercy feels undeserved. But that's exactly why it's called grace. You were not a homewrecker before you were a person. You were a person first, lonely, hopeful, maybe even manipulated, long before anyone gave you a label. God is not interested in the label. He's interested in what you do with the next honest moment in front of you. If today is the day you finally admit the truth, don't confuse that with failure. Sometimes confession is the first real victory you've had in a long time. If today is the day you decide to walk away, don't measure your strength by how painless it feels. Measure it by the fact that you're choosing what is right, even when your emotions are begging you to stay. And if you're watching this wondering whether God could still have a future for someone with your story, remember this. The Bible is filled with people whose lives looked beyond repair. Yet God wrote new chapters they never thought were possible. He is still writing those kinds of stories. He still meets people who think they've gone too far. He still speaks to people who believe he's gone silent. He still restores people who thought they had permanently destroyed their future. The next chapter of your life does not have to look like the last one, but it will begin with one honest step. Take that step. If this is you, don't leave this comment section silent tonight. You don't have to give details and you don't have to give a name. Just type one word, seen, so you know you're not the only person watching this who needed to hear it.